said, I'm going to upstage him. Then he went and came in this, wonderful. Look at that. I mean, anyway, so it didn't work. Right. To really start, I have really three sets of questions. Some of them are global.
Maybe before you start more, let
please.
me. You just said I said you should call me William, and you refused. Let me tell you of another incident.
Yeah.
I called the Secretary General of the UN, Guterres. So I kept on telling him, "Oh, Your Excellency, Your Excellency," and then he told me, "Please, you have to stop calling me Your Excellency. Call me Antonio. Otherwise, I will also begin to call you Your Majesty." So I stopped. So nowadays call him Antonio.
Yeah. Still, I'm going to call you Mr. President. It's not appropriate. We are in Kenya and we are in a formal meeting, and I believe it's live on TV, I think. So it should not be right. So I was just saying that we're going to talk about some global issues. As you know, most of our session today, or the whole conference, was about Africa and the world, our issue. And there were some wonderful speakers, amazing people, really. And I'm going to send you, I know you had other commitments, you wanted to come, but you couldn't. I'm going to send you the videos of these conversations because it's really good and useful. Then we're going to talk about the region, and then maybe a little bit about Kenya. So that's how we proceed, if you will. Now, you had been outspoken, traveled, and you make a statement about the global orders, about the debt, etc. Can you tell us what is wrong with this architecture, the global architecture, especially financial architecture? What's wrong? Why are you unhappy with it?
Well, first, you must understand that the current global financial system was set up against a certain context.
Yeah.
That context has since significantly changed. And therefore, it is struggling. The current financial system is struggling to respond to the challenges of the moment.
Yeah.
Countries, the whole system was set up around overseas development assistance, a financial system that was focused on prescription from the World Bank, IMF, and the institution. And sometimes those prescriptions went the wrong way. There wasn't room for emerging, frontier, new ideas on how to finance development. And as a result, you find that the system has not responded to frontier economies, emerging economies. A case, for example, is what happened in Greece.
Yeah.
It tells you there is something fundamentally faulty with the current financial system. While it is true that you can get overseas development assistance at 0.5%, concessional facilities at 0.5, whatever, but when you need real development resources, you have to go to the global financial market because you want to run your own development the way you know how. You end up with 10%, 12%, 15%, and it becomes impossible. It becomes impossible to finance any meaningful development. Meaning that from the beginning, from where I sit, from the beginning, the current international financial architecture is, to put it bluntly, rigged against those of us in the global south, because we cannot meaningfully address our development needs using the financial resources from this architecture.
The message from our panelists and eminent economists and wonderful people here was very clear. This cannot work. The rich borrow very cheaply. The poor pay incredible. I describe it as, mafia type of rate of interest. And it's ridiculous how we do that. And the rating agencies actually who put us all as sub-investment grade and say, oh, because those guys are risky and fall, blah, blah, blah. They're actually engineering our failure. And just to say, oh, I told you, those guys are risky. Something has to be done there to be sorted out. People were complaining also about the speed of action. Where is Greece or Ukraine? Money materialized somehow very quickly. Sri Lanka, Zambia, they have been in trouble for a long time. What is happening? Even this SDRs who made a big fuss about it. And it's very little, actually. It's not a big deal. It's still stuck in the system, what to do, So this whole system needs really to evolve, and we agree with you. And when you see the debates you had here, that's going to reinforce your message. Beside the financial systems, you are holding, I was surprised actually, you are holding a climate summit here. Oh, you said it, a climate summit here in a few months' time, just a couple of months before COP. Let's be frank, you don't have trust in COP. Why having this just 2 months before COP? Because we tell Amina, look, Amina, we don't trust you guys. Where is Amina? Yeah, because in the COP, there are thousands of people go, and then what happens? Then you find the Africans now to have their own summit. And tell us your story. Why you want to have this summit? I don't want to put words in your mouth, please, so you don't get in trouble with God.
More, before I answer to the Climate Action Summit, which is going to be between the 4th and the 6th of September, I wouldn't go as far as you said, mafia.
I hope not. I hope not. Yeah, you shouldn't. You're a president. I'm not.
But I would say the following. I would say it is our responsibility. They say it is the wearer who knows where the shoe pinches. Yeah. So it is our responsibility to engineer the debate that will put on the table our perspective, our point of view on what kind of financial architecture, global financial architecture that would work not just for us, but for everybody.
Yeah.
Because it is true that you cannot continue to have the kind of inequalities that are there in the world, because that is why you have all this migration left, right, and center, and you can never have peace until everybody has peace.
Yeah.
Therefore, unless and until we have a financial system that works for everybody, that financial system, therefore, does not work for nobody.
Yeah.
Right? So it is the debate we must have, it's the conversation we must have, and we're not asking for an unreasonable conversation. As I said here yesterday, we are asking for an even, a win-win architecture that brings on board everybody and does not price others using risk. Or Africa is risky, or this is risky, or in fact, we can authoritatively say Africa has the highest return of an investment. I don't know how that becomes risky. Let me come back to your
the climate.
to climate.
Why you have this climate?
We have, as a continent, as people from the global south, we have attended COP 26, 27, and the conversation has been a good conversation. We are focused on adaptation. We are focused on loss and damage and that conversation. From where I sit, that conversation is structured from somewhere. It is not a conversation that we have generated from our end. We also have ideas on how we can fix this global problem. And why we are having the Africa Climate Action Summit in Kenya is because, first, I am the chair of the Africa's Heads of State on climate change.
Okay.
And therefore, it gives me responsibility to work on Africa's position when we go to have a conversation with the rest of the globe. That's number one. But much more importantly, yes, it's good for us to have a conversation about loss and damage. Yes, it's good for us to have a conversation about adaptation. But we need to have the more important conversation about climate investment. How do we, the real conversation is how to get to net zero.
Yeah.
That is the real conversation.
Yeah.
And investments on how to get to net zero, how to re-engineer the globe towards that direction. Investments that are being discussed is in the region of 150 trillion US dollars. The only conversation that is being discussed about loss and damage is 100 billion. It is not a tenth. It is not 1%. So we are being consigned to a debate at the corner about loss and damage adaptation, when the real conversation about investment is happening elsewhere. Why we are meeting in Nairobi on the 4th to the 6th of August is because we believe that it is no longer possible to continue to assume that Africa cannot develop and at the same time have resilient, climate resilient growth. Because for a long time, people thought maybe it is not possible for us to have a conversation about development in Africa and at the same time to have a conversation about climate resilient development. But science has proved, using technology, it is actually possible today. Because of technology, we can actually have a candid conversation on how to leverage on the huge resources we have in renewable energy. There were people who thought that it is not possible to decarbonize our manufacturing or to green our industrialization using green energy because it was expensive to have panels. It was expensive to have wind technology that could actually harness the huge resources we have in our continent to drive our development. But today, science and technology has proven that it is possible to unlock the huge potential of green energy in our continent, yes, not only to drive the greening